Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I love to say welcome, everyone, to this probably the last show in November for the live session for BirdDog. I am here in Germany on a trip, so I don't have my studio background. It's actually just a real background. And I welcome everyone to the show. As always, I love to know where everyone is watching from, because this is the whole point of live streaming is that anyone can do it, anyone can stream, and these technologies allow you to go around the world. For instance, we have Fatas Shams from Gothenburg, Sweden, and Andreas Parginos in Corfu, Greece, tuning in. And if you are just tuning in, feel free to throw where you are watching from as well. And also, throughout the entire show, we'll be talking about a lot of different things, giving you a lot of new information. Throw your questions into the comments at any time so that we can address them. This is a live show, and the whole point of you being here is so that you can ask questions and have them answered right now. That's the cool thing. It's like being on tech support with tech support people right now. I see questions coming in. Thank you, Anthony, for the question. We'll get to that in a second. But before we actually address the questions, I also want to say that right now, this show, we are giving away BirdDog Multiview Pro. Now, if you haven't checked out Multiview Pro, it is like a multi-view app on steroids. You can have dozens of inputs. You can arrange them into all these different versions of multi-views and send them out via multiple destinations. So there's two different versions. You're getting the Pro version with this, and you're getting the big version with this. You can enter by typing in bit.ly BD entry for BirdDog entry. Capital B, capital D, BirdDog entry. I have the entry form right over here on my screen so I can see when people enter. If you're watching this on a computer and you have a phone, you could just use your phone and scan the QR code. That will take you to an entry form where you have to put in your name, your email address, put in your email address again, just in case you typed it in wrong, so that we can contact you if you win. And then there's a couple marketing questions. So tell us what your favorite product is, and tell us what product would you like to see BirdDog make? You can put that in the comments too. So the whole point of this entry form is it will be given away this show. So if you're watching this show, you are eligible to win. And it will be given away during this show. So if you're watching this a day later or 3 days later, you missed out. You have to tune in during the live shows to win Multiview Pro. So I'm going to just leave that up there for a few seconds. Let's go back up here. And Arnold Veliliana is watching from Papua New Guinea. So very cool watching you from Papua New Guinea. And as I said, anyone else who is who has just joined in, feel free to tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know where you are, because this is reaching a whole different audience than when we have the show at the other regular time. And just a reminder, any questions you have, put them in the comments. We're streaming live to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. We're getting comments from both. So whatever platform you're watching on, throw your comments, throw your questions into the comments, and we will do our best to address them. So without further ado, let me bring Levent onto the show. Thank you very much for being here. And I want to tell everyone, this is the first time both of me and the guest are in the same time zone. This is the first time out of 20 shows.
Welcome in Germany.
Yes, yes. And tell us a little bit about your background and what you do for BirdDog.
Yeah, so my background is like, I'm working at BirdDog as a channel manager, but started before in the industry for bigger like resellers. I would compare them like for B&H, system integrator, e-commerce, like hybrid. And I have like a lot of like also engineering background. I studied myself computer science, so we can talk about a lot of technical aspects of things. But at the same time, of course, not only technical, but also like opportunities and workflows and where you get to develop your own formats and your production to the next level to uplift everything. So I'm more than happy to share my experience and what I think we can do best at BirdDog to help you like to get to the next level on your production, and talk more about like the whole range of solutions we have, not only focusing on one specific niche, but actually like on a bigger picture.
Awesome. So this is going to be a perfect show for both of us to be working on now. Let us go right into what we're talking about today, which is the entire BirdDog ecosystem and how we really cover the whole ecosystem with, you can cover the whole ecosystem with BirdDog, in that everything from acquisition to delivery pretty much.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, and that's the beauty of our solutions, which we like have in the market, what we developed over the time. And well, actually, we started, for everybody who knows our brand BirdDog, so we started with the converter, the studio converter, which is like this famous product everybody loved, based on NDI. But from there, we started to have like this whole ecosystem around camera, software solutions, companions, application, tipping into like post-production as well, signal distribution, not only through a converter, but also like for remote workflows, and like or like point-to-point connections, and even like more integration with other third-party vendors. So therefore, like, I think this opportunity is great to talk about what we can offer everybody in the channel and show the new opportunities people maybe don't know about right now, because they're kind of focusing on the stuff they're already like seen and encountered and doing for themselves, but actually getting some impulses and ideas for new stuff.
Yes, and this image right here, it talks about your workflow, and a lot of people, when they know BirdDog and they think of BirdDog, they think of PTZ cameras,
Yeah,
and possibly converters. But I think definitely when I talk to people and I mention BirdDog, we start talking about BirdDog, it's almost always about the PTZ cameras, because that was like the entry. You know, the big thing is the P100 was, you know, the entry into the market, and it was the first full NDI. Here it is. We're all in on NDI, and every camera, every product, that's sort of the ecosystem, is this video over IP. And that, I think, for people who haven't tried it yet, it's like world changing. Not having to have one SDI cable from here to here, but that I can't also see it over there. I have to like duplicate it, and distribution amplifiers and things like that. But putting everything on a network really changes the workflow dramatically.
that's true. But at the same time, I think people always see then the fact that we're actually still offering all those other type of connectivities. Like, so it's like bringing you like this great advantage, having somebody like us implementing NDI in such a great way, which is like really robust, but at the same time easy to work with, like intuitive and really user friendly, from the product design up to the implementation level, from the UI and everything around it. It's just like focusing on giving the user the best experience possible and take out all the friction. But at the same time, we're giving people really the choice, not being limited to one specific infrastructure. So you can go like from UVC, USB-C connection up to like 12G SDI and NDI, and having multiple protocols, and giving people actually the choice to decide what fits best to solve their problem.
Exactly. And that connectivity is something like people who are interested in BirdDog, but they may have Panasonic workflow. It's sort of like, well, will this integrate? Absolutely. You know, it's not a different brand. It's not a different version of SDI. It's not a different version of HDMI. It's plug and play, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And while we like talking about like people who like the idea to like start with video over IP, sometimes they're like still like stuck in an already existing infrastructure. So like you have to serve kind of like both purposes, and like making the transition easier to them, saying like, hey, you can do both at the same time. The one doesn't rule out the other. So it's like an easy transition to that.
That is very true. Very true. So let us move forward here. So the BirdDog Advantage, you've got the NDI,
Yes.
but like you said, SDI and HDMI and UVC. And in addition, for people who want to use SRT and the cloud infrastructure, there's like this connectivity line is huge. So as you said, you're able to say, listen, we're all SDI here at the studio, but we're interested in having these other capabilities. You can get this camera and then start moving in that direction and leveraging.
Yeah, exactly. And even like utilizing multiple standards and protocols or connections even at the same time based on your setup. So you're not only like restricted to use like the NDI for the one production, but actually can do like both, like having the NDI feed and like secondary additional IP stream. You could still like utilizing SDI. So being still like, while doing like multiple things, very flexible and tailor-made like for different kinds of purposes. And that's just like awesome, like to have like a solution where it doesn't have to think about if I'm like really limited to some specific workflow, or do I have like some kind of Swiss Army knife that can fit to multiple purposes at the time when I like really need them.
And one question I get from people is sort of like they think of, especially like a PTZ camera, they think of it as a single use product. It's sort of like, oh, if I get this camera, I'm going to put it here and that's all that it does. But it's interesting that if you've got NDI and even USB, you can take that camera. It's like, well, listen, we're not going to be using this for a little bit. I can connect it directly up to a computer via USB, and then I could use it as a webcam or a product camera looking down. You can leverage these things in different places so that that connectivity gives you more capability with an existing product.
Exactly. And even like we go like a little step further, like with having the traditional connectivities. Let's take the HDMI connection, for example. So looking at the product like the X1, we do offer those like typical connections, but at the same time, we're doing something like even more interesting, saying like, if you're actually looking into like investing fully in the IP workflow and you would not really utilize the HDMI how they usually would do it, we can change the function into a decode mode. So you have like an additional feature, which is like completely out of the box thing about, I can actually even reduce my footprint in the installation by utilizing the camera's decoding function to reduce like the need for additional decoder in my setup. So I can like feed a network signal based on NDI to my projector, to a screen, maybe like having the camera in a prompter setup. Or maybe we'll not use actually the PTZ function, but utilizing the benefit of having just one cable to install the camera and feed multiple signals, deliver power over Ethernet, etc., etc. So we always like to try and like to think ahead and solving like real life problems by thinking out of the box.
Yes, and I myself have actually used that feature, taking one of the PTZ cameras, it's down right in front of the panel and everything, and it's like, well, you need a program monitor, for the slides for the presenter. Well, just take the HDMI out of the device that's already there. I don't have to run an additional cable and just run it down to the monitor, which is on the little stand. And now that one cable is giving me, the video feed to me as well as the return video for the monitor, as you said, without additional cabling or workflow, hassle.
Yeah, true.
Now, there's a lot to cover here. All the different pieces. So you got the PTZ cameras.
Yes.
Then you got the POV cameras, like these little guys.
Yeah, the box cameras. Yeah, and actually, this is like also like what you just mentioned. Like a lot of people always thought like, okay, I have like one PTZ camera, it only fits one purpose. Especially when in the early days with video over IP, people like for visual radio, for instance, took like a lot of PTZ cameras because of the benefit associating a PTZ camera with the video over IP workflow. But in the end, there was like a lot of use cases where people actually don't use the PTZ function. So that makes really sense to have like a POV camera based on video over IP for a fixed installation and give you like the freedom of choice, being more flexible, even like having a camera which maybe blends in better than a PTZ camera into a room and giving you different mounting options, which are easier than to install. And therefore, we have like the Mackie Ultra series, which is like really an awesome camera. I love the picture of the Mackie Ultra. It's one of my favorite images producers. And then its little brother, like the Mackie Live, which takes the idea of being more flexible and POV installations even further, being completely wireless. Of course, again, you have the freedom of choice. We have a full-size HDMI connection on that camera. We can control the camera via a dedicated application, which even supports ePTZ functions. We have a 3x optical zoom built-in microphone. We can utilize the camera as a UVC, USB-C camera, like even for huddle rooms, if you just like really want a small footprint camera underneath your display, which has like a great viewing angle, 90 degree, so it can really capture the room. And then even being like its own access point, so you don't even need infrastructure on site. Or you build your own infrastructure with the camera and connect multiple cameras to the main access point, which the main camera builds, and give you like the chance to do like here on podcast in the middle of the desert if you want to, as long as you have like your internet connection to stream it. And that again goes like together with that we're offering companion applications to fill the gap between the production tool as a hardware and then even like the software solutions to it, to give you more choice. And we have the Mackie Studio application, which we can talk a little bit more later. But that, like, again, it's a great example of how we see things as a solution and not just like under a microscope as a specific hardware. And what we can do also, like, is that we not only deliver the camera for the production, but we also like enable our customers with our decoder solutions to have smart options how actually to distribute the signal in the production site in the facility. So through like physical converters, through software solutions like the multi-view, which can also like create another NDI output based on your multi-view setup, or you can record that stuff. And then again, offering you controller solutions with physical keyboards, which is like basically the standard which you would expect for a PTZ camera. But we take it again a little bit further, like saying you can do it like with software applications. We do have third-party implementations through API. It could be like a bit focused companion tool, could run on like with a Stream Deck, a Densitron device. We have dedicated application from our developers for iOS. Gives you like full access to the camera, preview, control, and even utilizing then the studio application on an iPad. If you want like a more tactile feedback, more muscle memory work with that, we have the control surface for that. So you don't need to like touch all the time. The iPad is great as it is, but for production, you maybe need really like this muscle memory to work with that and giving you additional access to camera options.
And we've got a good timely question that's come in here. And again, I thank you to everyone who is throwing in questions. Sound Church asks, any idea on the ship date for the pod?
Yeah, there's nothing I can give away right now. Like we, of course, everybody waiting for a pod. The expectations are so high that we really want like to polish and make it perfect as possible before we really like do some like announcement on the shipping date. So please bear with us. I think everybody will be happy with the final result.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, pod is going to be this multi-NDI receiver. There, oh, okay, you've got multi-NDI receiver that then outputs UVC to your Teams or whatever, and that way you've got you can switch between a camera feed and the slide feed and a different camera feed. It's like a switcher controller.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's again like the idea about thinking out of the box and making things easier for people, just to like, for everybody who works under the idea of like bring your own device. You run into like an office space, you want to utilize the installed cameras for your conference, and you don't need to install anything. You just like plug in the device via USB-C, and the program on button mode is like pre-programmed for the room. So you just have like to push 1, 2, 3, 4 and get direct access to those cameras, to that source which are assigned to the buttons. You can run your production and just leave it.
That and I think a lot of people are really looking forward to this because convenience. That's what it delivers. It delivers this convenience and simplicity, and people like simple.
Definitely. I'm one of them.
Ben says, this is so good. I'll also take this moment again, because the viewer count has gone up, to remind people you can subscribe to win BirdDog Multiview Pro. Just go to bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry, or scan the QR code there, and that will take you to an entry form. Fill out the entry form, your name, your email, fill in your email again, just in case you typed it wrong, because that's the only way we're going to let you know that you won. And then fill in a couple marketing questions. What products do you have? What products do you want to see? And speaking of products that people want to see, I'm going to jump out of order here. And I want to say, you can come down, people think of BirdDog as a camera company, but if you go to the products page, I mean, there's a whole selection of software over here: Connect, Central, Multiview, Video Wall, Cam Control, the Dante Bridge, Dino, and there's other apps for iOS. And so it's more than just hardware, which is, brings us back to you get to win software here. And the nice thing about the software is it can be yours tomorrow. You don't have to wait for delivery, international. There's no VAT, there's no taxes. It's just boom, you can get it. So feel free to.
It's all multi-platform, so I think it's also good to mention.
All right, I'm looking over here at the sun's coming. Thank you very much, sun. I'm going to adjust my shade so I don't vanish into the darkness here. But I have 2 entries in so far. So people keep them coming. Let's go back to the slides. The X series overview. There's actually more that's on this slide, right?
Yeah, it is like on the slide we see actually the X series, but we have like some wordings which fall out of the picture saying X. So the outdoor camera does what the name says. It's like staying out of the picture, outdoor. So that's the 04, which is not in the picture, and technically the Max is not the X series camera, but looks exactly like an X1, just like with little adjustments in the design based on the feature set. And as well as the Marquee, which like sneaked into the picture. It's not the X camera, but it's Marquee Ultra. You can see like the buttons on the side. So while we like have this transition from the previous generation to the new generation, we have like made a lot of changes, and we have now this really unique look to our cameras. So you can immediately identify like a BirdDog camera when you see it on spot, and we get this feedback that everybody really appreciate and love this new design. And it's all those small details we carried through like from the beginning, when BirdDog started to the latest iteration of our products, as like the e-ink display. So the idea behind the e-ink display is nothing new. We had this in the previous, like in the first generation of products as an LCD screen, but we just like developed it through to a point where we have like now an e-ink display is so smart and great, so it doesn't consume power, it doesn't have to be always on. It changes the information only when needed and gives you like full access to camera information, which just again takes out the friction of an installation. Plugging a camera into the network and immediately understanding, do I get the right IP address? What was the format? What resolution should I expect?
That's fantastic. It's like, this is what I'm using. This is the IP address. And I go, no, you're on the wrong network. And also, now that we can customize it, you're able to, like, without tape or stickers or stuff like that, you're able to like pick up a camera and go, camera 2, okay, this one goes over there. And you pick it up, oh, this is camera 1, okay, this one goes over there. And you know where they are because the camera is telling you.
Definitely. And I think like we have like so many interesting workflows for the e-ink display, like starting now with the X1 and the Max series, where you can, the simplest thing is just like to brand it for your customer for the installation, or maybe just for the room, up to the point where you can also like put on your own QR codes, like pointing to like an LMS trigger API website. So whoever's like going into this room already have access to the right user interface on his laptop and can trigger stuff. Or we have like the for rental business, where people just like put in like the a link to a web page for like instructions, or like the what's in the box. Yeah, exactly. A lot of different things, so people really appreciate it. Even like, of course, the guys who really need to install the products on site and just like spend a lot of time figuring out the networks. And we are at the point where we can really offer like products which fits into a lot of different workflows, like the X4, which is like the great sweet spot, which works perfectly in a lot of different environments. But at the same time, we have now like products which are not only tailor-made technically, but also like really budget-friendly to some specific workflows. If we look at the Max series, right, we have that in different color schemes. So if you really invested a lot of money in a conference room, like working with architects about the corporate theme and the design, they really like the idea to say like, oh, we have even like color choices, and it doesn't look like an tech part out of the 80s, like an UFO. So it really blends into the design of the room, but at the same time, technically, again, offers like all the unique features to have everything built in, from AI tracking to like a great wide angle lens, and being utilizable through like UVC and NDI protocols and additional IP setups. And this really helps people also like to integrate the camera in the room, also by having across the whole range API access. So if you like want to utilize it with an already existing QSys media control or Crestron setup, that's all possible. So we're not trying like to create an ecosystem which is really closed and doesn't allow like access from outside. It's the other way around. We really want to have people be able to have an agnostic approach to our solutions and just implement it whenever it's possible, and at the same time offering solutions that they don't have the right one to fit into their setup. And that's the great thing, like from Max up to the XL, really goes like grows and grows and gets bigger. And even with the XL, there's like really no specific kind of customer to our products. You always think you have made an idea where it's going to be like landed, but in the end, a lot of different people pick up the product in a way you maybe wouldn't think of. And also like the XL, for instance, which looks mainly for broadcast audience. We see great feedback from the Pro AV part where people just want like this high quality level of camera productions for town hall meetings, for corporate communication, and at the same time utilizing the second camera for a wider shot and getting like more camera inputs, just like from one camera instead of having multiple cameras.
Two cameras for the price of one.
Yes, with great tracking and a lot of more like connectivity, and they just like figure out their own workflows. But we can talk about this also like more in detail maybe later.
Well, speaking of cameras, we got a couple camera questions, so let's go with these. Anthony says, not me, I've had the X5U for 2 years. When would we expect an update so the AI and color matrix can be usable?
So I don't have any roadmap which I can share with you, but if you look at the X1, for instance, from when we initially started to launch the product to how it looks today, we're constantly working on the cameras to improving stuff. So you could expect like all the cameras being like worked on continuously. Same goes for the 4K converters. When you look back to the converter when they initially launched as a single channel converter, we made it a dual channel converter. We added NDIHX to it, all free of charge updates. So that's we are always working on the products, and there will be probably always new things to announce, upgrades to become over the time. But I don't have any roadmap which I can share with you.
When I've done a show with Dan, Dan has really said, he says he wants to have the same capabilities across the line. You know, that is his goal. So if there are other cameras with better AI, you can probably understand that his goal is once we step up the AI over here, we got to step it up across all the different cameras so that they're equal. And I think, you know, that speaks well to, you know, what you said is that continuously improving and stepping it up. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have a timeline for when that is going to be delivered, but definitely in terms of, you know, expecting it to happen, you know, and then keeping a fire under them too. Sound Church asks, we love both of our X1 Ultra cameras. Sometimes they struggle with hunting focus and AI tracking, even with professional lighting. Any tips to help?
That's hard to like say like from the distance, like without being there on site. But again, on the tracking side, there are a lot of things you can adjust, and the camera settings. I assume you tried your best, but you can always reach out to your sales engineers and support team to figure out what could be maybe the problem. And we're really good like in answering those questions really in a short matter of time. And we've done also like a lot of adjustments on the firmware regarding of the focus. So not sure like which firmware you're running. Also worth always saying, just check the firmware version you have and reach out to our sales and support team.
And one thing I find, especially with, because it says Sound Church, I find with faith-based installations, often there's not a really good spot to install these things except all the way in the back of the church, you know, on the balcony is where these things get installed. And unfortunately, what they find is as people walk across the balcony or something like that, it bounces a little bit, and that little bit of bounce makes the camera think, oh, I got to check focus again. I've, you know, and it makes it difficult for these things. So I find if you can get them closer and put them on the sides, the angle may not be perfectly straight, but because you've got it closer, it's, you know, the further you are focused away, the less distance there is in between focus. And, you know, the gears can only move so finely on lenses. So the closer you can get, the better it is for adjusting focus on all types of cameras, any type of lens. Let me take that one off. We'll get that one later. Second Sound Church also says the XL looks sweet. Looking forward to testing. The XL is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I really like what we talked about, like the freedom of choice, what you actually can do with the camera connectivity on one side. And also, when we think about the secondary camera, which is also like a huge sensor compared to like regular cameras. So we like still, when we initially designed the camera, of course, there's a huge advantage in the tracking. While we were talking about tracking, you can't like really easily adapt that to other solution because you already have a secondary camera to support that tracking. But at the same time, you just can utilize this as an additional feed. So if you want like have like a wide shot of the people in the church, Or if you just want to like take that wide shot because it's a wide shot, you can crop multiple frames out of that from a software mixer, like maybe a TriCaster. So you have the ePTZ function for that static shot. So you not have like two camera inputs, you have theoretically multiple camera inputs from one camera. Still getting like this huge sensor like for the main camera, for the beauty shots. That makes people like really creative about the workflow they can implement.
And, for those who haven't, used PTZ cameras and have just fixed cameras, having the wide shot always gives you cover for when you tell the close-up camera to move between this shot and that shot, between this speaker and that speaker. Cut to the wide shot, move it, cut back to the close-up. Go to the wide shot, move it, go back to the close-up. And you've got them both in one camera.
and think like what also like really is like great about the PTZ cameras, that you often run into like setups where not really everybody's like a broadcast engineer or camera operator, and they don't need that level of like connectivity or control on the camera itself. But having like a PTZ camera to enable you to choose the way you control the camera, the way you operate the camera, and the control over the image through just the software is really like appealing to a lot of people. Also reducing like the amount of personnel you need actually in that production venue. It's also like really, really good. And now, of course, things come into this, like when we're talking about church, it's like the X4, like you're really easy like getting in with a Wi-Fi camera if you want to, with like running on an autonomous battery. So you can place it almost anywhere without drilling a hole into a wall or just running a cable, so nobody like steps over it. So like gives you again like a lot of freedom of choice how do you actually work with those products. Also, like with the camera, especially the XL, when we're talking about the XL, we have added additional functions to match the camera closer to other broadcast cameras. If you are already running in a setup where you have invested in different brands and you want the image to match those kind of like different cameras on your setup, we make it really easy in the camera presets to get to a point on the image processing that you're already close to the standard default values of those type of cameras. So you can easily then go to adjust even closer with the calorimetrics and other cameras image settings, which helps you to blend into the already existing camera production lineup you maybe use.
And you bring up a good point. With the wireless capability, if somebody's having a difficult time with a distant camera for a service at a church, they can use a wireless camera on like a speaker stand, put it there for the service, and then put it away. Yeah. It's like a temporary setup, but it's nice and close and gives you that, more dramatic shot that they can use. Before we go any further, I just want to remind people, if you haven't already entered to win, you can go to bit.ly/BD entry to enter to win your copy of Multiview Pro. I have 6 entries in already, so everyone has a 1 in 6 chance of winning. If you are watching this on a computer, you can use your phone and scan the QR code, which is over there. It's over there. I can't point to it. It's now he's suffering the same way. And then that way it'll take you to an entry form, fill out the questions, hit submit, and then you will be entered to win Multiview Pro. If you aren't familiar with Multiview Pro, it is a fantastic piece of software that allows you to bring in all your Multiview feeds. It even has the ability, if you have a given network, to select low bit rate, so you're not taxing the network saying, give me all my cameras from every source, and just overwhelming the network. You can select the low bit rate for these multi-views and then send out, a 4, a 6 by, all these different multi-views that you can watch in different locations. It's very, very cool. Let's continue on here. Now, we talked about the cameras. Next up is the endpoints. We've got these converters, both input and output, from the Studio, the Flex, and I think the Play. And we already had a comment about the Play. And Sound Church says, speaking of simple, we are big fans of the Play. We sell and install them like hotcakes.
Absolutely, I agree. Like the Play is a fantastic product. Like it just like enables everybody to easily integrate those NDI workflows, and it's not even only NDI. We even support SRT on the as a protocol on the device, and goes up to even Cloud Connect connectivity. So while always saying cloud, people always assume that we're doing some kind of processing through like Amazon service or cloud infrastructure. why we like choose finally to change the name into Connect, which is more likely the really process there, where you have like point-to-point connections and can install remote workflows. And we had a couple of interesting projects in the past, and also like just at IBC, I had like an interesting approach where people wanted to like bring the service to more people, but at the same time they needed to have like professional production companies to do the production, but without being on site. So they're installing our solutions, our cameras within the church, and then get like the remote connection to it to operate the streams, the process within the production, which helps them to like reduce the costs and the traveling and the CO2 footprint, etc. And what I love about like our converter solutions is also that we, for instance, with the 4K family, it's not only an encoder or decoder, which we have done with the Flex to make things more easy and affordable for a lot of people, but actually it offers you much more value being able to do both, like either or, at sometimes even like both at the same time, depending on your setup. So this is like really, really, really like making things much more easier for a lot of people, and also offering not only the always expected 1 gigabit Ethernet port, but also like for more demanding setups, an SFP slot. So we can actually go like 10 gig Ethernet and have the bandwidth like for all the production needs.
Exactly. Now, we actually did have a question come in, and I knew this question was going to come up as soon as I saw the slide. Are there plans for replacements for the Flex 4K? I think one of the key things is the Flex 4K hasn't stopped working.
Yeah.
It still works. It still does everything they said it was going to do. It's not an HX model. It's a full NDI model. And given the proliferance of HX3 on all the models, and the capability of what HX3 really delivers is the fact that you get both low bandwidth and the speed. You know, when I've put them side by side, the new X1 versus the P200 at full and the X1 on HX3, the HX3 was actually getting just a hair faster than full NDI. Same network, same computer, side by side. I was blown away because, you know, HX2 was like slow compared to this. It was like it's like you're getting your cake and eating it too.
And that's also like the beauty of like, let's say, software-based protocols, which can develop over the time to something even like more interesting, better. It's not, you're not stuck with HX. You can actually, if the hardware has the headroom, and we showed that with the 4K family, we can constantly like improve it and make it better and better. And while HX3 is so great on latency, it also delivers great image quality. So there are other reasons like still like utilizing the high bandwidth full NDI. But to come back to the question, like depends on the setup. We already have like an replacement partially for Flex, like with the Play. So the Play can do the decode part. It does support full NDI, and it support also NDI-HX. So based on the resolution, you already could utilize this as an alternative for the Flex out. For sure, we're always looking into like new product lines, and as we have done already with the previous camera generation, I think you can guess that there will be at some point a replacement.
I think when Dan decides something is end of life, he's already has it in mind what's going to be the next thing. Yeah. You know, but you know, as he has said with BirdDog 2.0, they learned from, you know, the past, and they don't want to announce something before something is ready to, like, it's already like on the boat and, you know, to come here. He doesn't want to announce, you know, because they learned from, I even forget what the camera that was with the Wi-Fi. It was like, this is going to be the next camera. And then that whole other thing ensued, and it was just, it was a whole year, and people were like, I want that camera. I'm waiting for that camera. And unfortunately, that one never quite materialized, but I think the new cameras do offer all the capabilities that was going to deliver.
And even more than that. And I think also like what we also like learned like from working so closely with our partners, that we actually utilizing every second till that announcement to improve the product we want to like release as like the new version of it, not only as like being technical like superior to the hardware before, but actually like targeting some of those pain points people maybe had over the time to improve it like on every level we can, and getting those customer feedback and implementing that into the device. One example of that is like the new KBD keyboard, which is awesome. Like if you compare that with the first generation, that's a completely different product. But with the direct access to the camera from the build quality, or the feature set we're offering with the multi-view and the KBD router output, having API controls on the device itself, it's just like awesome.
We got another camera question in here. Planning to buy the Max. Will the X1 and Max get the NDI6 upgrade?
So on the library wise, let me double check with the engineering team, but I assume we are like, there's nothing which like should not allow us to do that if it's not already implemented. But also like depends on like what kind of feature you're looking like for the NDI6 implementation, because like there are a lot of different aspects to NDI6, which is like depending on the hardware.
Exactly. Continuing along, we went through our converters, and now there's BirdDog Connect, which was talking again about the software, but the Connect deserves its own page. Connect is like, Dan and I have done 2 shows about Connect. You can go back into the live shows on YouTube and watch these shows. And I think we've started to scratch the surface after 2 shows, just because Connect is so deep, and it's also free. There's a free tier now, so that if you are interested in trying out Connect and you want to go in and poke around, you can now do that at no cost.
So actually, Connect even has its own domain, so it's birdconnect.io. So it's that big of a topic that we like give them like its own web page as well. So you can do so much things with Connect, and it's really like the glue right now at the point where it's like interconnects every bit of like we have like in our portfolio. So from remote production, like post-production editing, to remote production based on remote control of the cameras, to just multi-view and routing options, to monitor and distribute the signals even like across the connectivities. Like we have a multi-platform software supporting Connect on Linux, Mac, Windows, which allows you to even like utilizing a third-party SDIO IO cards to like go across like from IP to baseband again. There are so many things we can also like do with the modern conferencing tools right now, and there's more to come, like with Zoom integration, things like that. We can talk like for days about Connect and what it enables you actually to do. And what I really love is like to see like this big portfolio, not just only trying to solve one problem, but actually finding the benefits in Connect to be utilized and over the shoulder workflows, for instance, like for approval through Avid Media Composer or Adobe Premiere, which is like a great thing. And just in time, people actually needed a lot of times back then in the pandemic, and they're just continuing to work that way to like optimize the process, to give even like scientific installations where they're just like studying like across multiple offices on objects on one venue, to give them access to those sources and control the camera and the angle what they're looking at. It's a great tool, and again, like as you said, we should like make another own session only for this one.
It is very deep, and already we're getting a question on it because again, we're a live show, so throw the questions into the comments. Does Connect do Dante transport also?
Short answer, yes.
Dante is very deep. Dante is a very big thing. So like short answer is yes.
Yeah, like I think that's similar like to the Connect topic itself. If we want to go across all Dante options, could like cover the whole day. But generally speaking, like running like on software on the client machine, we can utilize Dante streams as well.
Awesome. Then in addition to the software, we had a question. Somebody actually asked, are there any discounts coming? Yes. This 10% discount, this 10% combo discount is any 3 cameras
plus.
Almost any 3 cameras, except for 2, and the controller.
Yeah.
So tell us about this.
Yeah. So let's start with the hidden discounts. So like if you look at our classic traditional bundle options, there are already like some discounts in the market. So we always offer those idea of saying usually most of the installations require at least 3 cameras, and to support that with like a physical controller, we have those bundles across the X1 up to the XL and 04 even now, where you have at some point big discounts up to like a free of charge control surface, like KBD. So this is already like a great offer. But in reality, we had also like a lot of people not just looking into one specific camera, but even like a wider range of different kind of configuration and requirements for maybe different installations or different clients they want to work with. And then it's really helpful to just like make your own a la carte choice for what kind of cameras do you need. And for that purpose, we made this offer, like saying mix and match all the new X series cameras, including the Max, and just like add a controller. This could be like the KBD controller, but if you're more looking into a even more portable solution, that can be also like the control surface for the studio application, which runs then on the iPad Pro. So you can just pick the camera you need for all the different kind of requirements you have in your production, and take like an X4 for the Wi-Fi setup where you just then want like a closer shot and utilize that for better AI tracking, but have like two more fixed installed, maybe X1 Ultras, or even go bigger like with the X5. So you can mix and match different kind of X series cameras and get the control surface you want to utilize in that setup, and get the 10% extra discount, which I think is like a great offer to be even more tapping into maybe different kind of new production options which you wouldn't have before.
And this type of layout helps somebody who is just starting out, saying, "Oh, well, we're going to need several cameras and something to control them." Boom, you're done. But also, if somebody already has a setup, and it might be like older cameras, and you want to step up the visual clarity and everything, but also, oh, I could have a little camera over here for this, and you can like pick and choose to augment what you already have. And then also have the controller that's going to be able to control any NDI camera. It's not, the controllers are not limited to BirdDog cameras. Yeah. It's not a BirdDog only controller. It's an NDI controller. So anything you have that does NDI is going to show up.
It gets even further. Like if we're talking just about the control surface, it supports also like SRT camera streams and NDI, of course. But if we're looking at the KBD controller itself, it also supports like all the standard classical protocols like Visca, Palco, OnWith. So even if you already have like a fleet of legacy devices in your setup, for instance, like on an educational level, that KBD controller can actually be utilized for all the other PTZ cameras you probably have. So working over IP, that's no problem at all. And we have also like serial connections on that. And talking about educational customers and universities, that's also like the one kind of scenario you often get into where they're already invested in some kind of tech, and they say like, this fits very well into the specific conference room space, lecture room we have. And because of the positive experience, they just want to expand the ecosystem within the facility, but have maybe different requirements for that room. So they say like, yeah, here it makes more sense to have like wide angle shot with the Max for a permanent install. Maybe there's like the need for a mobile production kit where like the professor just like goes in and out with some cameras to capture his lecture. And that type of like offers help them to get easier budgeting for different kind of scenarios and expand the production in a way that maybe haven't thought of initially, but now understand actually we can still get the benefit of that and utilizing our budget in a brighter way.
And since we mentioned the Mach-E Studio controller, we had a question come in. Can the Mach-E Live Control program run on a Mac without the panel switcher? I think no, the app itself is going to always look for the device. Now, you can run the app without the control surface, but it's going to, once you get past one input, it's going to be like, I'm sorry, you need to unlock the rest of it, you need to have the control surface.
Yeah, that's also like, I see like as a positive way to have like a similar as back in the days where you have like a USB dongle. So like a physical floating license. So you're not locked on one specific device, but wherever you take your control surface with, maybe into like a different facility, like give it to a different person, they will be able to unlock his software fully with the control surface once they are connected to each other. So see, there's like a physical dongle to activate your software regardless of the device. It's locked to the panel itself.
And honestly, I'm sitting here and I'm using Restream to produce the show, and I'm just going to hold this up. I'm using a control surface. So people who are going to do production regularly, you're probably going to end up wanting a control surface. And the license comes with a really good control surface for free. So look at it that way. You don't have to then, yeah, there you go. You don't have to go out and buy a control surface. This one is specially made for the app. So there's it's like, oh, I want to scroll up and down on the left. Well, there's a scroll wheel on the left. I want to do these 3 different overlays. Well, there's 3 different overlay buttons, and you don't have to like go and program them. They're always there. They're always hard mapped to those things. So that is, on one hand, the app is good, but on the other hand, once you really get into it, you're going to want a control surface to manage it.
Yeah, definitely. And even like the dedicated like on-air button, just like to start the shows, like something like I think a lot of people just want to have as a physical button to be like reassure that I started this thing. And while the iPad touch control is like a great thing, we actually utilizing it in a way where it makes really like the difference. For instance, I love the feature, again, talking about details. You can actually like grab the live stream and then annotate on that screen, like making like drawings and explain stuff, which is a great example for like educational training stuff. You can freeze frame it if it's like in sports application, just like to show like the strategic moves and things like that, and capture that. And again, the computing will be done on the iPad on a live feed, so it's not like you just have to stop everything. You can do this with the video playback on the device. You can do it with the live camera source. So that's been, I think, a clever way to utilizing that we have a touchscreen device here, and then get like this additional feature.
Exactly. Before we go on, I want to remind people one more time that you can, if you're watching the show live, which if you are here right now, you are watching the show live. Okay, no, that doesn't work, because if you watch it later, I'm still saying right now. Anyway, you could go to bit.ly BD entry for BirdDog entry, or go to the QR code, which is over there, and use your phone, scan the QR code, fill out the form, put in your email, and you can be entered to win. We now have 8 entries, so everybody has about a 1 in 8 chance of winning. You have a few more minutes to put in your entry, fill out the entry form, and put your hat into the ring, as they say, for the contest. Again, this 10%, can you tell us how long does this special go for?
Till the end of the year.
So this is November, December, and then December 31st, we're done.
Yeah, correct.
So this way, BirdDog Build Your Own Combo, BDBYOC 10, it allows you to pick 3 cameras and a control surface, get 10% off.
Yeah, so actually, like, you can go more than 3 cameras. So it can be like even like a bigger scope. So if you like 5 cameras and the control surface, like going like more than 3 cameras enables you to get this promo code. So like,
it's not limited to 3 cameras.
No, it's not.
And then, as you said, there are also other promos if you want 3 of the same camera.
Exactly, where you already have like a free of charge KBD, like what we see like on the left, like the physical really bigger control surface, which comes with like a display, which even gives you like a multi-view overview of 4 cameras at the same time. So that's not like, you're not combining those 2 offerings. Like, it's like for separate use if you want to really have those mix and match unique a la carte setup, which is not reflected in the promotion. But because if you say like, I want to go just for like 3x5s, you just go for the bundle, because you get like 3x5s and the free of charge KBD. But if you say like, oh, I need like 2x4s, maybe 1x5 and the X1 Ultra, plus the control surface, like for the iPad, Mackie Studio software, or you really need like the KBD, that's then one scenario where you can use this promo code to get the 10% extra.
So this basically offers a more generic promo code. Like there was the bundles. If you want 3 of this camera or 3 of this camera,
yes,
there you go. But if you don't want 3 of just that camera, and you want to, I need a long lens, and then I need a wide, and then I want a point camera,
you just,
this is saying, okay, you get a discount too.
Yeah. If you then add like one of the control surfaces to it.
Yes, and the control surface. We also got a question in about, does the Mackie control surface allow ISO recording? I think it's more so the app. Does the app offer ISO recording? I believe it does.
You can record the program output, like the main feed on the device itself.
but ISO records for each of the sources.
No. That like as powerful as the iPad Pro is, I think that's that we're touching the limit of the computing to like have the balance of everything what we do at the same time. But as far as I know, no. It should be only limited to one PGM output where you can actually select the format you're recording. And you can do like 3 output streams at the same time. So actually like similar what we do like here on Restream, we can go for YouTube, Instagram, whatsoever, like at the same time.
Now he continues. He says, "My workflow for most events is the Blackmagic Extreme ISO, but as a one-man band, I want to move over to PTZ cameras." You can still move over to PTZ cameras and add a PTZ controller, and then the advantage is you've got 2 different devices. This one's always set up for your cameras. This one's always set up for switching, and you don't have to look at the switcher. The nice thing about the Blackmagic switcher is it's a control surface, so you can have your fingers on cameras 1, 2, 3, and 4, and your other hand is on the cameras. So you could definitely do that. Or if you get big enough, or if the event is big enough, you have somebody else do the cameras.
As well as you can actually like create your own hybrid workflow, of course, based on the ATEM you're using. You can still like work with a PTZ camera as like a network-based easy installation. And if you really need then to like get those ISO recordings into your ATEM, just use one of our decoder solutions, turn that again to baseband, get into the ISO recording, and you're done. You still have like the benefit running just like long distance through like the Ethernet cable. So you have like an easy installation for the cameras, remote control with the KBD, even like the monitoring part can be handled there. If you're going for like 4 cameras, you have a multi-view like for 4 cameras on the KBD device itself. You can utilize a BirdDog plate to put it on a 65-inch display and just point the KBD rotor output to that every time you change the camera you're operating on, it will change the source on the display, so you can actually monitor it on a big screen as well. So there are a lot of different ways to do it and still utilizing what you have. Or if you just want to go full old school, I mean, the X5 is a great example for the kind of connectivities we have for awesome price performance thing, like 4K 60 with 12G SDI, HDMI output. So you get all the connections plus the icing on the cake with NDI and SRT options at the same time. And you just choose the connection you want to implement. So doesn't rule out one or the other.
No, it doesn't. And, I was also sitting there thinking like you could, in essence, keep using the switcher to record the ISOs, but then do your program switch over there, and then your ISOs are just standalone here. Now that switcher just does your ISOs,
yeah.
And then you can use the Maki to do the live show while the ISOs are just doing their own thing.
Yeah, you could also like use the Multiview Pro software to record.
There you go. And speaking of that, thank you very much. One more time, let's put it up here. You can win Multiview Pro during the live show. If you haven't already entered, go to bit.ly. You see, you can never get the left and right. Go bit.ly, and here, I'll do it myself. Right here, it is the QR code, and you can scan the QR code with your phone or go bit.ly/BD entry if you're just typing it in. And then that way you can enter to win the contest, fill out the form, put in your email, answer a couple questions. Tell us what product BirdDog doesn't make that you want them to make. If you could grab Dan and say, make this is your chance. Put it in the comments. Come back down here. We had a couple more questions. With the XL Ultra, I didn't throw the other thing away. Okay, let's just do that. Let's put that back up here. With the XL Ultra, can the lower static camera zoom in and out? Since this model has 2 cameras, can it be used for multicam? That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, the multicam aspect is of course to the camera, but it's a fixed lens, so you can't zoom in and out. It's like the fixed shot. But
as you said before, though, if you're doing 1080, you could do a crop. You could window the 4K and have like a wide shot and then have a closer shot. So if it's like a church, you can have the whole church for, singing and things like that. And then if you just want the altar, so you could go in like that. But then you also have the real pan tilt zoom on top.
So we have some like picture-in-picture options we can do directly on the camera. But if you want like do the cropping stuff, that would demand like the software mixer you're utilizing. For instance, like vMix, as far as I know, they can do like EPDG functions, or like on the TriCaster, which is also like very common, that kind of setup. So of course, again, there's always like headroom to improve things and add more stuff into the camera directly, besides everything it already does. But I'm just like giving like the feedback I also like getting from a lot of people, like when I think like, yeah, what we can actually do with the equipment we already have, and to take like everything out of the solution we're getting with the XL.
And for me, I mentioned it earlier in the show, but the Mach-E Live is a great little camera to always bring with me, because every single event I go to, they're like, oh, we need 3 cameras, one on the speaker, one on each of the, or one of the moderator, one on each of the speakers, and one on the audience for questions. And I'm like, you're gonna need a wide shot. You're gonna need a wide shot. At some point, we need a wide shot. And a little camera like this, I always say, buy this thing, throw it in your bag. I wish it came with a lens cap. Put that in for Dan. Hey Dan, lens cap. And I mentioned, sorry, I bumped my microphone. I found these like little silicone things that stick on the front as like, it's actually a cat food cover that I saw somebody mention in a forum. I was like, check that out. So it protects the lens. And these are great, because then it's like, once you're set up, I just put that in the back of the room, and should something go wrong, one of my cameras fail or something like that, I've got a wide shot to go to always. It's always great to have that backup shot.
What I do with my Mach-E Live is like, I got something like this. So I mount my camera over there, and you can actually utilize the application like as a video monitor, like so you have like full access to the camera, like kind of like handy Steadicam. You can just run around the camera in your hand, directly see the input on the Mach-E Live application, adjust, zoom in, etc., and have all the fun with that. That's also like a great way to utilize the camera, I think. And I love also like the fact that we do have the built-in microphones, and that you can actually go with HDMI out, like if you like running that on the PC for like esports as a point of view camera, and so on. So like the applications are endless. And I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, this is a beautiful camera. Allows people to do like so much more. And I assume those wasn't like cat ears, that's dog ears, let's say. Let's keep them as dog ears.
Okay, it's dog ears. I don't know what dog would have these ears. A little Chihuahua. Anyway, I had another question come in. Can you show? Probably not going to show, but explain the difference in image quality between the X series. Specifically, thank goodness. Specifically, we get asked between the X1 Ultra, X4, X5.
Yeah, so they're all like 4K cameras in this case, but it's hard like to explain the difference, because like everything comes like with the same manufacturing sensor, but image processing can be different from one camera to the other regardless of the sensor size. If it goes like to the low light performance, I would say the X4 is like the best like in this TrueLED, like performs like really well with the big 1/1.8 sensor, and with the X4 and X5 being almost similar. The X5 also have like great low light performance, but not as great as the X4 is. So the X1 and the X5 are much more closer to each other, but they have different benefits, different other aspects, how they like operate. So having like the much smoother motor for the X5 is like the one thing, the connectivity. So we're trying like to keep the image quality on all devices as high as possible, but at the same time, it's more about just like the image quality. It's also about like how you're actually trying to utilize the camera and which kind of environment. And therefore the X5 is, I think, from those three, the most versatile in regards of connectivity. And what I also like haven't been really expected is like the X5 is great in a lot of Pro AV environments, because about the aspect we talked in the beginning, that you actually have 12G SDI output, you have dual HDMI output, you have a video OYP with multiple protocols, which people like in a more complex MV environment just love, because they can just utilize any kind of infrastructure with the camera and don't get any headache about it. Like if they actually can fulfill the requirements from one room to another, if they especially have even like legacy SDI, or if people already invested a lot in SDI based 12G infrastructure for the video production. So this one just fits in all kinds of different infrastructures. And that's something people from the Pro AV and system integrators really appreciate.
And another thing I want to mention again is that BirdDog has software that addresses this. When you talk about the image quality differences, you could leverage, and I'm going to switch screens here because I just called it up. Cam Control, which is 100% free, allows you to bring up each of those cameras on the same monitor at the same time, not different monitors that you don't know if they match. On the same monitor, it could even be an iPad. It brings it up on the same monitor so that you can adjust the parameters and make sure they all look exactly the same. So if you're trying to match those cameras with different sensors, it allows you to bring them up and do that detailed camera control, being able to see them side by side on the same monitor. And I think, that is a great solution for, when saying, well, they may not match perfectly, but now with this software, you can sit there and you can dial it in, so you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. So you can do this also like on the web UI. So if you actually look at the web UI, initially a lot of people think, oh, that's the software running. No, it's the web browser. So it's just like the web UI interface, and this will already give you like preview of the image. You have like cam controls for the image quality in regards of picture settings. You got the color metrics. And then again, you have the choice however you want to implement that and you want to utilize this, because everything is around built APIs, so third-party access from outside is possible. And then for cam control, for instance, as a free of charge Windows application, then we have the PTZ control tools for iOS devices. We have the web interface, which is like independent, like it doesn't really belong to any specific platform. As long as you can run a web browser and have access to the IP address, you can get in there and then do the stuff you need to do about the image settings.
And it's a good thing you mentioned the web, because a question came in, and thank you to Sound Church. Sound Church has been very active today. Great questions. Thank you very much. As cam control on a Mac yet? You can do the same thing just with multiple web, just have multiple windows and multiple web browsers for the multiple cameras. It's not as compact and camera, with each of the settings, but you can kind of get there on a Mac with just using the web browser interface, and then you will be seeing them all on your Retina display or whatever screen that you have.
And the great thing also about the Mac control for Windows is also like you actually have this drop-down menu, which is like an easy to select through the cameras. So it'll scan your network and recognize the cameras in the network, and then just go like for each camera tab, you can choose which camera you want to look at. So you don't have to type in any IP address or anything. So the setup is really like straightforward and intuitive.
Second Church threw this one in. This is interesting. Can you use a Mach-E Live on a cable cam? Battery and wireless NDI? Absolutely, I think is the answer. Yeah, because it's got a single quarter 20 thread on the bottom. And I will say Dan, when we were talking about this, Dan had mentioned it is not a weather resistant, a weather sealed camera. While on top, there are no ports or no openings. The ports on the back and the venting on the side, and definitely the underside if you're mounting it this way. If the rain were to fall this way, that would be a problem. But you've got a 3x lens, battery, built-in Wi-Fi. You can turn the tally off so it's not lighting up as it flies through the air and drawing attention to itself. But this is absolutely flyable, or you can put this on a gimbal. Like you had the little handheld thing, You can put this on a little gimbal and steady cam this thing around.
Well, you mentioned the tally, which is like across all the X series and the Mach-E cameras. What we also utilizing, for instance, on the Mach-E Live, we can color tag them. Like for sure, you have like the regular tally functionality, green and red on the production. But if you want like put like a Mach-E Live for a specific reason, like saying like this one is yellow, this one is like green, the other one should be like blue, and just like color tag the cameras for that purpose. That can also be done. Or you just like go full game mode, like RGB cycle, and put it like on the gaming rig, like for esports events. So we do also like the fun stuff. And for everybody who wants like to run the camera, not on its battery mode, but like wired, like we have the PoE adapter, which enables you to run it as a network cabled camera system and get constant power to the camera as well. And that's again like a little detail I love personally. It has a lock port, so you can really fix the cable on the device. So you can't like pull it out. If you try to pull it out, you will take the camera with you.
It won't focus. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, but we see the spot.
There we go.
Yeah. So again, full HDMI source, even like SD recording inside the camera, and you can then just like run it on your personal preference.
And I think it's got 2 big battery cells in here. It's going to last like hours and hours.
Yeah, and for like setups like I've just shown like with my phone rig, you can even like put just like a uh, external battery, a power bank, and then just charge it via USB-C if the battery life is not long enough for you.
And yeah, I've done that with other type of cameras. I haven't done it with this one yet, because then you look at it like this: it's running off the external battery, and then when the external battery dies, you unplug it. Now it's on the internal battery, and then you plug another one in. So this is basically becomes your UPS, and you do this as long as you want. I believe that has exhausted all of our questions for today. We've gone for about an hour and 10 minutes. So this has been a fantastic show. Levent, I really appreciate your expertise and your experience and walking us through all the different things going on with BirdDog today, answering all of these questions. Thank you to Sound Church for throwing in by far the most questions.
Yes.
And
Thanks.
good questions too. So thank you very much for that. So, Levent, let me say thank you to you, and I will bring this to a close with the drawing. So, again, thank you, and I will look forward to seeing you on a future show.
Again, great show. Thanks, everybody.
So, again, this is your last chance. I have 8 entries, and if you haven't already, I know the live stream is 12 seconds behind or 20 seconds behind, so I'm going to vamp a little bit. If you haven't already, go here to bit.ly, BirdDog entry, BD entry, or use your phone and scan this QR code right here, and that will bring you to a form where you can fill it out and win BirdDog Central Pro 2.0. If you haven't had a chance to try Central, Central is this incredible, not Central, that's the wrong one. No, we're doing Multiview. Sorry, let me swap that out. Multiview Pro. We're doing Multiview Pro. I don't know why the other one got the different slide. My apologies. Multiview Pro is the giveaway for the show. And Multiview allows you to bring in dozens of inputs. I actually had it lined up before. Let me come over here, and if you haven't had a chance to check this out, I am going to actually bring you in here. Multiview from 99. The Pro is available for more, and what it does is it lets you bring in all these different inputs, and you can create 6 different multi-view outputs, 6 discrete multi-view outputs that can be sent via NDI, of course, anywhere you want. So if you have BirdDog Plays, I want to send this to this room, I want to send that to that room, you can do all that here. ISO recording, audio monitoring, video monitor output, stereo mix downs. So if you have an NDI input with multiple tracks, you can pick which 2 tracks you want to go. You know, it's got audio level displays, tallies, sorts, labels. In the Pro, you can bring in 96 sources. Now, if you try to bring in 96 sources all at full NDI, that could possibly overwhelm many networks. So it allows you to, bandwidth concerns, it allows you to bring in the low bandwidth proxy, because this is just a multi-view. The low bandwidth proxy is part of the NDI specification, and it allows you to have all of these sources, but the bandwidth is way lower. And that way you're not overwhelming your network with 96 different sources. And then of course you can say, what goes where, what has the name, which one has tally indicators per each multi-viewer. So there's lots of capabilities in here. If you're curious, you can go check out the multi-view overview on the birddog.tv website. But that is what we are giving away today. And you do that right here, bit.ly BirdDog entry. You use the entry form or scan this QR code, and that will help you enter to win. I am stalling for time at this point. And I would just want to say to all the people who have watched, I appreciate you all being here. We already had a thanks from Pasadena, and then a thanks from Minnesota. Tell Dan Judson says hi. Hey, thank you very much. So thank everyone for watching. I am going to go into the drawing right now. So let us come back over to this. I have these names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to take these 8 names. I'm going to copy them, and I'm doing this in front of you so that you can see what's going on. I'm not playing favorites here, and then I come over to this BirdDog contest wheel. I am going to select those 3 things. I'm going to paste the names that you just saw on the other screen. I am going to click to spin, and then I am not going to do anything. The wheel of names is going to pick Fatah Shams. Thank you very much, Fatah, for entering, and congratulations. You will BirdDog will contact you and set you up with a license for Multiview Pro. So again, thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate all of you for tuning into these shows. We will have another great show in a couple weeks, and till then, thanks for watching.